Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Build a Passive House. In this video I want to talk about what exactly is a passive house and why we want to build it. I guess in the previous video I mentioned that I'm not going to explain what it is because there is already tons of information on the internet, but I received some comments saying that, oh no, we want to actually hear what it is. So in this video that's what I'm going to do. So if you search the internet for what a passive house is, you find tons of information, and this is the Wikipedia entry of it. Basically, it's a standard. It's a standard where you, when you build the house or some building, it results in a super ultra low energy requirements for this building, and to certify a certain house or a building as a passive house, you need to meet certain standards and requirements. So let's go over those requirements first. So here in the passivehouseinternational.org website, you can see the passive house certification criteria, and it's nothing super crazy special. Basically, the building needs to be built in a certain way where it doesn't exceed 15 kilowatts annually per square meter of heating or cooling. Basically, it's the same for heating and cooling, and the requirement is less than 15 kilowatts per square meter. The other requirement here is that the whole building shouldn't exceed more than 120 kilowatts for like all domestic applications, meaning like heating, cooling, hot water, domestic electricity, again per square meter of the living space. And the next requirement is the air tightness. This is an important one. Air tightness means you have to insulate the house in such a way that the heating or the heated air inside or the cooled air inside the house doesn't escape very fast, so it actually stays inside the building. So the requirements here are maximum of 0.6 air changes per hour at 50 pascals pressure. And like how is that determined? Basically, maybe you have heard about the blower door tests. Basically, some group of people come to your house. They put seals on the door, and they blow some air inside. And with certain sensors, they can see how much of that air actually leaks from the house. And it has to be airtight in order to achieve this standard. So that's more or less like how do you get the passive house certification. It's the most important is the air tightness and how you actually heat or cool the house. It has to be below certain kilowatts per hour. And there are certain designs and design ideas when you construct the house that all passive house usually have. The first one mentioned here is the passive solar design and landscape. What does that mean is when you build the house, you have to think about, well, where is it positioned? Like how is the sun actually heating the house during the winter, and how can we use the sun to heat it in a such way that the heat stays inside the house. And usually that's achieved through positioning the house in a place where the sun can come directly at it with no obstructions like other buildings or trees. And it has to be, the best way is to position it so it faces south, which is like the best way to get all this solar energy from the sun to actually heat your house. And there are some other ideas here. Like, for example, if you see some designs of solar houses, you see that it's designed in such a way that in the summer the sun comes kind of is positioned basically higher above the house, and in the summer the house is not heated too much, but in the winter, because the sun comes down, and that's when actually the solar rays come inside the house, and this is achieved through basically putting some roofing or some shades on top of the roof that protect the house from overheating during the summer. And the next design idea is the super insulation. Like, basically all the houses have a lot of insulation in them, like more than the average or more than the required minimum. Depending on where you live, different countries have different standards for that, but it's always much more than what is needed. And why is that done? Well, basically, when you insulate the house, all the heating that is inside the house doesn't escape. That's the easiest explanation. And the same is true for in the summer, when you're actually trying to cool the house. It stays cool and doesn't the cool air doesn't escape from the house. The next one is advanced window technology. Basically, to meet the standards, you need to choose your windows carefully, because the window is not like a wall. The wall, you can insulate it a lot, so you can put so much insulation there that there is no heat escaping from it. But the windows is not working that way. They're basically the weakest point in the whole structure. When there is a hot air inside the house, it always tries to escape from the windows first, because they have the lowest insulation parameters, basically. And how is this measured? Usually with R value or U values, which you can read on basically the window manufacturer websites, and you can find out how much this is. For our passive house, we will be looking for somewhere between 0.85 and 0.70. And that's the U value for the whole window. And then we have the air tightness, which I mentioned. You have to construct the house in such a way that the air doesn't escape easily from the house. And again, this is very important. It depends a lot on how who is building the house. They have to be very careful with how they construct it to actually achieve this air tightness. And ventilation, that's important one, because imagine that you're trying to super insulate this house. Well, all the air that's inside will become dirty, and you always circulate with the same air if it doesn't escape from the house. So what we do, we built some kind of ventilation system, which instead of you opening the doors to get fresh air from the outside, you're using some ventilation that you preserve the heat or the coolness inside the house, but you can exchange the hot or cool air with the air outside the building. And the space heating, well, that's kind of obvious. When you position the house on the south, through the glazing of the house, you achieve a lot of kind of like a passive solar energy from the sun. So the sun is actually heating the house, but the heated air stays inside the house. It kind of works like a greenhouse for plants, let's say. And that's more or less like all the requirements for what a passive house is. In the next video, I'll go over how our house is designed. I'll show you how our architect designed it, why we took certain decisions, and hopefully this will even make it clearer. So if you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel. It will help us a lot to know if you actually enjoy it or you don't. So yeah, subscribe, like it, and thank you very much.